Awesome. Next up, Suzanne Schaefer. Suzanne is a meditation teacher. Suzanne is a mom of 2 young children. Suzanne's about to come out with her first book called Bare Naked Bliss. She's an incredible person at so many levels. She's gone through a lot, and she continually comes back with this response to generosity. Last night, she tells me, I think all of us are speaking about different things, and I'm really talking about the simplicity of service. Doesn't have to be complex, doesn't have to be big. Everyone can do something. And that's what Suzanne is going to rock us with. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nipun, and all of you for being here in this space. Yes, it's that simple. Some of you might be thinking right now, well, it's great, Silas. He's 26 and he can abandon, has that freedom to hit the road and give, but the reality is we all can give, and we can be in that space of giving. About 3 years ago, I was at a place in my life where I'd gone through serious suffering, just one thing after another, almost unbearable. But somehow I found myself in Puerto Rico at an Alliance meeting for humanity. And within that meeting, I was surrounded by some of the top scientists in the world, by Nobel Peace Laureates, by people that were being the change in the world, NGOs from everywhere, mind-blowing. And I was sitting there going, why am I here? What am I doing? Because pretty much at that point, I had just been surviving my personal life. Then in one of the sessions similar to this, a gentleman stands up that had been on Wall Street, and he tells his story of suffering. And he basically realized that he had come to a place in his life that he wasn't aligned to his highest truth. He wasn't operating in society in an authentic manner. And it took his mother's words one night after she observed him cutting down other individuals, acting in a way that wasn't how she raised him. And she looked at him and said, "Who are you?" That's all she had to say. The very next day, he said that was like a blow to him that he had never received. And he went into work, high-paying Wall Street job, and quit. He didn't know that that day he actually was going to be fired. But he quit. And he took the time to reflect and reconnect with his self and connect to that place of service. And where that landed him was to be in a place of service to people in the financial world. And as he sat there, simultaneously, during that period of growth for him, he realized he was a playwright. And he wrote an opera that ended up on Broadway. And he sang a song. And as he sang that song, I sat in the audience like you all are right now, and I just cried. And I knew right at that moment my life was changing. I wasn't an NGO. I wasn't making biomass. I wasn't leading million-person meditations. But I knew that I was being asked to move back into a place of service that I had promised my father I would be in when I was 5 years old. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, and I didn't know what the path was. Over that course of that next year, I spent a lot of time just continually going through my own healing process of letting go. 1 year later, same conference in Puerto Rico, and there I'm really ready to be engaged and commit to something, some organization that is aligned with me. I land in a circle with a Nobel Peace Laureate, many other astute scientists, and Nipun Mehta. That moment, again, 1 year later, forever changed my life. I found my soul brother, someone that was committed to serving just because, no strings attached. And the story he shared with you about his mother when he went on that pilgrimage struck me like a chord, because we had some of the highest intellectual capital in that room, everyone discussing what they could possibly do to change this planet, to save the planet before our time runs out. But Nipun had the simplest answer, and all it was going to require was to do what is in your heart in a moment. It doesn't take a a strategic plan. It doesn't take a long thought out process. It doesn't take venture capital. It just takes a moment. And as he said those words that he shared with his mother, if you're afraid that I don't have shelter, give someone shelter. If you're afraid that I'm hungry, give someone food. If you're afraid I'm cold, clothe someone. So in our group, as we broke out, I said, Nipun, you have to share this with everyone. You have to let them know this is all we need to do. And he said, no, Suzanne, you share it. In Nipun's natural style, to step in the background, in his humble nature. So I shared that with everyone. And then, after that session, people were impacted by that. It touched their soul to realize that it is that simple. For all of us, we can keep it that simple. And we don't have to think big. So from that point on, that simplicity, I decided that I was going to harness that simplicity in my life in every aspect. I have small children. And how can I be the change for them? How can I set the example? Day in and day out, being a parent can be trying. It can put you in places where you might not want to be. But you can have compassion and show them how to be the change. The smile cards have been a great inspiration for my kids because now they can ding-dong ditch with a bouquet of flowers. They can hide in the bushes and see what the reaction is when the people come out. There isn't one day that my son doesn't walk with me and see a homeless person and want to give them food or money. There isn't a time when my daughter will ask what she can do for me, how she can help out around the house. Those simple acts are something that we all need to remember and harness. And as Nipun says, let's step it up a notch. So I came away from that conference wondering, how could I, in my professional life, bring service in? How could I give? And that's what I did. I just started giving of my time. And probably it was maybe 10% at first of my time. And pretty much now I give probably about 95% of my time away to people that are from all different aspects of the world. People that are feeding hungry people in South America. People that actually, from the outside, might appear to have the most in the world, might be like a Warren Buffett, but they need compassion and they need someone to authentically stand by their side. So after I implemented that and continued to implement and find my way, because there is no plan, you don't know where the road's going to take you when you commit to service, I also committed to being of service to myself. And we had this discussion last night, that before you can authentically give to anyone, you have to remember yourself. If you don't take the time to connect to your stillness, your silence, your inner peace, you are denying yourself something that's greater than even food or water that you would put in your body. Taking that moment to be still will connect you with your heart, with your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, and guide you to where you should be next. And finally, I'm going to leave you with a story of just compassion. And that's where, when you move into that place of service, you realize it's no longer about you. It's no longer about any of us. It's no longer about the political rhetoric. It's truly operating from a place of compassion. I was in a locker room after swimming with my children, and there was a mother there, and the 2-year-old child was crying hysterically, throwing the biggest fit that you could ever imagine. The mother, visibly I could tell, just feeling her even energetically, was at her end of her rope. She was getting more and more agitated. Finally, she struck the child. And I sat there, and I felt her pain. I walked over to her, and I said, "Let me help you." I took her child, and I said, "Don't worry. It's okay. I'll hold your child. You get dressed." And I knew in that moment, giving to her that compassion, not judgment, was the biggest service I could give to her in that day and to that child. So for all of you, when you asked, how can I step into service? It really is that simple. It's one simple action. It doesn't have to require money. It doesn't have to require anything except your heart and your soul and your stillness. Thank you.